and kind of see what's good in the overall Champions meta. So one series, Rek'Sai will be a top pick ban. The next series, Mundo won't even be considered after being a first pick. So I feel like every match this week will have its own narrative, and then more of a season-long meta will develop in the first weeks of the season.
Yeah, so pretty common bans that we're seeing so far. At least the ban meta has been relatively consistent. And that Misfortune definitely hitting the highest priority for that blue side first pick that we've seen in the first couple of days. But again, this is 5.24. If you are going to be watching the EU LCS later tonight, they will be playing on 6-1. So MF will fall down a bit in terms of that priority. Kindred, the next ban for eMFire.
Be really interested to see if Misfortune sticks around. After all, her laning is the big target that you don't really want to max E when it loses 90 base damage at highest level, but the bullet time zone control is still relevant. So will it fall from the picks and bans? Probably, but maybe still a contender given the spell casting nature of popular ADs right now.
I just don't think it's going to be first pick blue side.
First rotation blue side, sure.
Okay, so Kalista, the final ban for Samsung. And now we wait for the last red side ban. Ryze is still available, Fiora is still available, and that's going to be the ban in the end. So we're in a situation where Ryze could well be the first pick, and Kuve is a player who has played Ryze even when Ryze was not in the meta, so this is a big comfort pick for Kuve.
Yeah, patch before the Ryze changes came through, he was playing Ryze, and of course Ryze burst out when he saw his mini rework or buffs that came through, and Kuve is a fearsome Ryze player, so already a flex pick, start of a good draft, but that means that Gangplank's available.
Gangplank will be snapped up, most likely by eMFire. They'll take the Alistar as well. One of the highest priority supports alongside Trundle that we've seen, just valuing that tankiness so highly in the meta that lacks a lot of armor penetration or AD carry relevance when it comes to dealing with tanks. Ambition here, taking a look at that Rek'Sai, and that'll be the lock for JJ. Thinking about Lucian.
Biggest emerging story I've seen so far this week has been the rise of Rek'Sai. We talked about it last series, but in a world with less vision, Tremor Sense has just become more and more valuable as a ability, and thus Rek'Sai, as a reliable tank otherwise, has really shot up in the big ban priority.
Certainly has. So next two picks, round 2 of the draft. Corki, hovered over right now. Nice flex pick so that they will know the location of the Ryze before they actually commit.
Mundo's still available?
Lysandra actually, a ban that we frequently see, not getting picked up too early.
Mundo and Lysandra both available. Oh boy.
Here it comes. Here it comes, Swamp Smithy. That is probably going to be a jungle Graves, unless we see the top lane Graves. It is, what we can say about Graves is he's not going to be played AD carry.
Probably not.
He is really bad in lane pre-6. Really bad.
You could, I guess, flex it in one of those horror scenarios, but you're right. It's very unlikely in this scenario, but it's not going to be Chaser level Graves, but still. We actually mentioned that Crush had changed from AD to jungle. Why not take an AD with him to the jungle?
I think that's an excellent point. So Crown here, looking for the safety of a Victor pick. And we have seen that. Victor LeBlanc be highly prioritized when you have to go in blind to a matchup, and so that'll be the lock. And Trundle, the solid support, maybe coming in last here just to push this Graves out, and there it will be. So full comp now available, and it will be Kuve taking the Ryze in the top side, which, see what this ends up being. It could be top Graves and Poppy jungle. As weird as that sounds, that is a thing that can happen these days.
Feels like Poppy jungle and support have kind of been the two roles, at least in Korea, that she's been most popularly seen. And her W ability is massively strong against dashes. So for example, the Rek'Sai Burrow would be interrupted by the W. Not too many other dashes though, apart from Lucian's, I guess, on the side of Samsung.
I would love to see a jungle Poppy and a top Graves. We were so hyped about top Graves maybe being played. Oh. That is disappointing. First Nautilus of the season, though. Not something that many people have wanted, but against Ryze and Victor, who are easily targetable with that Nautilus ultimate, can be good. But that would mean it would be a top Nautilus, perhaps?
Yep.
So
teams have definitely experimented with top Nautilus. You have that freedom of build, as most tanks do. Rod of Ages is an option. You could just go for the Righteous Glory. A lot of damage coming in from the jungle. And the mixed damage from Corki means they're not an exclusively physical damage comp. Of course, you can go a little bit heavier on physical damage in a meta where Thunderlords is so popular to give you that latent magic damage on top.
Yeah, and this is a huge burst damage composition. You think about the power of Corki and Graves, and of course that Gangplank in the late game. If they hit you with the barrels and a rocket and a Graves Q, you are going to be very much hurting.
More simply, if Ryze or Victor ever steps out of line, the ultimate comes through from Nautilus, targeted CC into, as you mentioned, sheer burst. This is spicy, and that's great to see from a new lineup of unheralded players. They're going for something rather than just trying to play the meta.
Yeah, I really like it, actually. We'll see how Hippo does on this top lane Nautilus, something that we saw Trace play quite a bit in the last year on Jin, but not something I expected to see coming into the early parts of the 2016 season. Kuve back on his rise, and both teams have some pretty nice late game power. Should be exciting team fights as we head into game one here.
See Ambition rotating around Kuve. If you get this Ryze going, even Nautilus tankiness won't be enough to stop the oppressive Ryze in the top lane.
Indeed, so game one here coming up, e-mFire versus Samsung. Nice spasm camera there to start it off.
Nice to hear e-mFire retaining some fans, I would assume, from their Najin days.
A bit of a hard off-season for Najin fans.
How many Korean girls do you think had to transfer to China during the off-season when Watch left?
Well, some of them probably went because Peanut's also very popular over to the Rocks Tigers.
I mean, relocating to China is a bit more of a big move to relocating to Rocks Tigers games, Monty.
Yeah, well, relocating to the LSBL is not exactly a glory move here from Watch.
I think of it like pro soccer players going to Qatar for their last payday.
Or to the MLS, you know. Pull a Beckham, let's head right over to the LA Galaxy.
I like how we both went closer to home, because I was actually born in Qatar, so keeping it close to home.
How do you feel about that World Cup?
Yeah, I haven't been to Qatar since I was born there, so there's that.
I see, the long-term absence.
I'll watch the World Cup from the comfort of Korea. That's my plan.
I will not watch the World Cup.
I'll rope you into a game at some point.
I regretted the last World Cup I watched was like in 2012.
Okay.
Because Spain won that one, and the Spanish style of play was literally the most boring thing I've ever seen.
Total football, which meant passing it in the midfield a lot.
Yep, and just they score one goal and then just pass it around the midfield for the rest of the game. It was awful.
Well, let's talk about a different play style. Graves jungle, because a lot of people might be wondering, why is Graves suddenly a jungler? He was a very oppressive AD carry right when he was reworked and saw some nerfs, as Guga takes a lot of damage, a lot of damage.
Well, he's coming off being an AD carry, so perhaps getting used to the old sport trading right here.
I like how they have an AD carry that's gone to jungle, and an AD carry that's now support. That's like when Samsung had 3 people that could play mid lane Fizz and not much else. But the thing about Graves is that, so one of the things in his rework is that his auto attack pushes back monsters and minions, as this trading probably isn't going to lead to any kills. So he's able to kite Camsriel. You'll notice he started the refillable potion and can stay sustained between that and the fact that Machete, another big change in the preseason, has 8% lifesteal against minions and monsters. Uniquely, Graves has effectively his old buckshot as an auto attack. That's an AoE ability, so when he gets in melee range of creeps, he's often healing for 40 health, you know, a couple of levels into the game just from that sustain. So a very sustained clear and good burst damage when he ganks.
Yeah, and the other major factor too is the delayed secondary damage on his Q. So sometimes that can be hard to hit if you're actually in a laning phase.
Sure.
But if you're just
those
killing monsters
stick next to the walls a lot.
Yeah, makes it for a very fast clear. You see Crush now eyeballing Ambition, going to take away the Scuttle Crab. for a quick clear. Cuvée left by himself, and you know, they have to make some plays on this Rise before he gets too powered up. But that means that they're going to have ganks in this top lane. And with Crush found out on that bottom side, should be pretty free farming for Cuvée, at least in the beginning.
And we saw almost there what Bubbling showed yesterday with the Kindred. Kindred, Graves, both of them can invade aggressively. They have dashes, and they do so much early damage that even the old top-tier junglers have a hard time trading with champions like Graves and Kindred, levels 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that a bit yesterday when the early invade from Bubbling, just a straight-up 1v1 in the enemy jungle.
On full display then, and this wraparound. No, there's a lot of vision defensively for Cuvée on top.
Yeah. Smart from Cuvée, just gets the wards right in as Crush has the opportunity to switch into the topside jungle. Wraith and Core JJ didn't take too much of an advantage, and there's a flash away from the hook. Hippo tries to hit it, so they get a summoner spell as Crush looks for the gank after walking up through the river.
It's going to be wave clear wars in mid. Of course, Gangplank going to have a harder time picking up CS. Only has his Q for range farming until he gets a few more levels in E for the barrel farming later in the game. Some items to back that up. If you power through and farm the mid lane Gangplank, you'll definitely feel that pinch in the late game if you're Samsung.
Yep, but you do see Crown taking that opportunity to get a nice ward there by the Raptor buff. Ambition now setting up, but he's not going to actually get much done right here. Crush is going to take a bit of poke damage there from a Prey Seeker Death Ray combination right over the pit. And
Crown stole out the Raptor as well.
Very nice. So, good little play there. Crown taking advantage of some early pressure to do a little bit of denial. So Cuvée now safely back under his turret. Will just keep farming up, evening up this CS as the wave hits. And Hippo doing a nice push so he doesn't have to TP right back into lane.
Actually got a really good back timing himself, yep. Cuvée. You'll notice that he didn't have to use his teleport and had his Tear and Sapphire Crystal already, so back time is good for both top laners.
Indeed, Ambition here playing pretty aggressively against this Graves early. Looks like they just want that vision onto him and to delay him as much as possible. Bit of harassment and more wards. Prey Seeker over the wall.
I mean, specifically the thing here is that Crush has a very low pressure mid laner when it comes to rotating around mid. No CC, no ult yet. Actually, ult just achieved, but you can feel very confident invading when it's a pre-6 game plan that's going to react from the mid lane.
Well, it's also just important to keep eyes on him right now, too, so that Cuvée has that opportunity to free farm with his Tear and really scale up into the late game. And that's going to allow it. They have pretty much total vision around this Graves, as long as he's on that bottom side. Making it quite easy. Cuvée starting to trade a bit more aggressively.
Big question for Samsung and big question for Ambition, who's a player that looked near the end of his career in the latter days at CJ, now revitalized or potentially revitalized over on this Samsung lineup. The shocking thing about Ambition was he never seemed to develop a true relationship with his support. We always talk about jungle support duos, Dandy and Mata, perhaps the most famous of those. Never felt like Ambition was on the same page with Mad Life, and now he finds himself with Wraith, another experienced support who's played on a top team. Can he develop that synergy to allow for the more effective duo invades rather than just taking it all on himself to both tussle with the enemy jungler and invade for vision?
Yeah, it really did feel, despite this very long period of a year that he had to grow into the jungle role, that he would invade blindly and frequently die or have to be bailed out by Thresh Lanterns to actually make plays, and that risky style didn't serve CJ very well. Hippo actually is going to get caught in here. Cuvée doesn't have any mana to follow up.
Completely out of mana, has teleport, but the minion wave pushed right to his turret. Graves already backed off, so it's going to miss a bit of CS at the top.
Has the backup here from Ambition. They're not going to find much. Go ahead and take that Scuttle Crab. And surprisingly, passive early game. Both teams very much just focused on farming and keeping eyes on each other's junglers, so really not very many gank opportunities outside of that early forced flash on Cuvée.
I mean, my biggest surprise is that, honestly, e-mFire have played smart the first 8 minutes. They haven't been overawed. They haven't made any silly mistakes. Crush picked up that with the smite there, but you know, you think that this ragtag bunch that really came together very late in the picture, it looked like Najin might actually be selling their spot before they eventually ended up with this e-mFire organization. e-mFire in general have been pretty controlled for the first 9 minutes.
Yeah, they have, but it really is, you want to use this Graves to get some kills early, and especially on these side lanes. I mean, they picked up a lot of crowd control on the Nautilus and on the Alistair to help out set up Graves ganks, and it just hasn't happened because Ambition has just been all over Graves, not fighting him, but just trying to subtly contest some of these camps, take him away, or at least just harass him in the interim. And he's actually out farming the Graves, even though he spent a lot of time just sitting there with his Tremor Sense, shooting Prey Seekers at him in his jungle on these invades. But without that pressure in mid, like you said, there's just not much that e-mFire can do to stop him, and Crown is doing a lot of work on this turret.
And the flow-on effect is not being seen in mid, because as you mentioned, Victor's already going to have a comfortable laning phase against Gangplank, regardless of the jungle matchup. The flow-on effect's in top, because Nautilus with targeted CC and just a huge suite of CC, and the big burst damage from Graves, Ryze is out-farming the Nautilus, and when you know that the Graves is just clearing camps in front of your friendly jungler, you can overextend like you mentioned. And that's meant mana stacking in general, stacking towards late game comfortably for the Ryze.
Yep, and they completely avoided the dangerous situation where Ryze was top without a flash. So flash back up right now, neatly dodged by Samsung. Now Edge does have the barrel clear, more of an opportunity to prevent that damage. They're going to TP actually, as Ambition going to get caught out, and there's the ultimate from Nautilus going to get that knockup, and Ambition gives up first blood. Crushed by Graves right in front of the Dragon Pit, and they'll chain that right into an objective.
e-mFire should look into volleyball sponsors because they completely bounced Ambition into their AoE, layered it nicely, pick up an objective. That's more than I ever expected from e-mFire in their debut as a completely new lineup.
Well, did you expect Ambition to give up first blood by being caught out on the map?
I've never heard of him doing that before. I like how he changes role, but it's still the same old Ambition.
Well, he did find himself a little bit between a rock and a hard place right there. Good collapse by e-mFire.
Literally 5
yes.
people, so. But, again, familiar territory for Ambition fans.
Soul coming down with the package now. First of the game here at 11 minutes, and TP will be used by Edge just to prevent this turret from falling in the mid lane that has gone down below 50% now. So swapping up top is Guger. They need to make a play on this Ryze at some point or another. Cuvée very happily stacking.
So here's a question to you, Monte Cristo. In terms of ticking time bombs, Ryze and Gangplank both lie in that territory. Would you say that Gangplank's ability to really punish those short-range champions with both his ultimate and the barrels means that in the late game you take Gangplank in this scenario? Who will do the more late-game lifting, at least given the lineups and the champions we have between the Ryze and the Gangplank?
I think the Gangplank, especially because Nautilus has been picked and can provide such a huge amount of CC in that front line to set up those punishing barrel plays, because it will take a couple seconds to chain some barrels together, but Nautilus can keep you there, so can Alistair. And I really like the amount of CC they're taking with these champions that do take a little bit of time, like Graves and GP, to set up the damage.
I mean, Nautilus and Alistair might as well be the same champion in the late game. Lots of CC and epically tanky. Obviously, just through ultimate in terms of the Alistair, in terms of the item pickups that come through from Nautilus. So the damage backing them up is triple AD, but double AD and the burst AD mage in Gangplank. That's a lot of words, but that's effectively what he does with the barrels. So, yeah, I mean, pretty solid stuff. So both of them are free farming at this point. Sounds like you take it if you're e-mFire.
Yeah, I do really like it. Nice chain there on Victor, getting 3 together. Luger now here, and Hippo will start trading. He has to be a little bit careful there against Cuvée. He's going to dodge one of the Qs and
out of mana.
Yep, finds him out of mana. There's a Gangplank ult coming through. Cuvée in a bit of trouble. Hippo here. Who's going to win this duel in the end? Cuvée has to turn around, but he doesn't have any mana.
Oh.
Hippo going to take it. Ambition wants to get the dive down, but Hippo just has too much HP, using that corrupting potion to get back up, and not respecting the Gangplank ultimate will cost Cuvée his life.
It's real big surprise here. We built up Cuvée in the pre-match, so of course gets solo killed
Well,
by Hippo.
solo, quote unquote.
I'm
there
sorry,
was a
did you-
global ultimate there.
Gangplank wasn't in the top lane. What are you talking about? You can keep your asterisks to yourself.
Okay. I guess I will. He was solo killed in the top lane.
Okay, now say it with higher energy.
Nope. Sorry, that's all you get. I'm the play-by-play caster now, Papa Smithy. I decide how much energy there is.
There needs to be a meme with you talking to Doa. Who's the play-by-play caster now? Not for much longer.
Yeah, I only have to take that mantle for a few more weeks. I hope.
Yeah, this is Korean esports. We'll wait and see. He's on the way. He's in the mail. The package is in the mail. We'll see.
We shall. Crown actually going with a fast Frost Queen's claim.
Yeah, just getting a bit cute here.
Does have the oranges though, but that chip damage really doing work. Ambition now looking for a red steal. Crush is here. He's going to see this immediately, but he doesn't have an angle to collapse with his mid laner. Still gets it as we do see Ambition backing off, not being over bold. Nice denial there on the sweep of the ward by Guger.
It's actually a smart timing for Ambition to contest the red. Gangplank's ult only just came up, so didn't have that to respond. It's basically his only way of responding is just throwing in an ultimate, so didn't have it, and still, the buff did go over to Crush, who, very uneventful start, especially by Jungle Graves standards, but overall, it's not a big lead, but it exists for e-mFire.
Certainly does, and Hippo, interesting build, went for the fast boots of swiftness in spite of the fact that he's dealing with roots in the top lane.
Wait, he went for the fast boots of swiftness
and alacrity.
Wow.
Exactly, so 80 more move speed on Nautilus very quickly.
He has the lowest base in the game, or equal the lowest base in the game because of his massive CC, so suddenly, it's not teleport home guards, but Marin would approve of swiftness, alacrity, 15-minute coming through from Nautilus, and as a champion, he's unique in that, you know, he builds a couple of health items, and it's just his kit that makes him relevant.
Yeah. Edge with another TP back into the mid lane. Process that we've seen as he looks to hang on to his turret for as long as he can.
A lot of power spikes completed at the same time for e-mFire, double Trinity Force.
Nice timing. Well, not a lot of punch yet onto Samsung as they go for scaling builds for the most part.
Haven't really seen much of the bottom lane matchup, but as far as we can tell, it's been far more after they were tussling a bit at level 1 and 2. Graves also, it's worth noting that his auto attack does chunk turrets pretty well, because the extra bolts do apply to turrets as well. It does a bit reduced damage, but still.
You have to get pretty close for that to happen, though, which against the Rise might be slightly dangerous.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, maybe. All right, Crush actually going to get knocked up right now. Ambition getting kited. Both junglers have red buffs. There's a GP ult just to discourage any further aggression. TP going to come into the backside, and Bug Splat, baby.
That was epic. Man, how bad could 6-1 have been?
Yeah, really. All right, we're going to launch back into the game right now, guys. I don't think the players have been affected by this. We do have this happen from time to time. You got to see our observer PC desktop. Beautiful.
That was some epic timing. Just as the teleporter finished channeling.
But I was ready. I was ready. My Crash play-by-play was excellent there.
It was actually.
We're bug splatting out of control right now. Usually it'll take a few times.
Oh, here we go.
And we do have other observers, so looks like we had a few deaths on the side.
Graves picked up some kills.
Yep, Graves did.
Well.
And a turret. So early edge to e-mFire. We do have multiple observers in the game, so we can just switch over to a different one.
Yay, Graves.
I love Jungle Graves. Very exciting.
Let's take stock of what happened. We saw the channel being completed by Nautilus, and he obviously has extra assists, so clearly some Wombo burst and CC came through.
Yep, Kuve also followed with the TP and then died.
Well, Rice didn't get punished in lane, but teleports haven't been kind. And you even mentioned it. You expected the scaling between Gangplank and Rise, the two ticking time bombs of this game, to go in Gangplank's advantage just because of the suite of CC between Alistair and the Nautilus. And e-mFire, they're not done pushing advantages. This is the unique thing. We've seen rookie teams, Anarchy from last split, for example, have good early games, have good mechanics or play smartly in the early game, but pushing advantages has always been something that's eluded new teams. I feel like EVO was unique in being a team that could push advantages despite being a very new team, and e-mFire, so far, it's very early, but they're pushing advantages more smartly than you'd expect.
Yeah, Hippo in the bottom though. Core gonna go for the dive, does get the kill, but hello, heal, is that gonna be enough? Yep, just barely, comes out with sub 100 HP. He does have wards, so he knows that there's no follow-up from the friends of Hippo. But here comes a Herald-empowered push on the top side. Kube doesn't have a lot of answers to this.
Trinity Force also completed, so a lot of turret damage. Smart to rotate the Corki into the empty lane. Feels like it's going to be just a matter of time until top lane goes down.
Indeed, and no turret taken on the bottom side. Not enough HP as Core has to take his kill and then head on home. First of the game, however, for Samsung.
Spin e-mFire all the way through. Ever since Nautilus got that edge up top, then teleported and again punished Cuvée.
The edge up top. That's very true with that ult in the 1v1. But anyway, Cougar now going to go ahead and get CC'd here. Kube just continuing the follow-up, waiting for that ultimate to run out. And he's not going to quite be in range. There's a Q, not going to hit. And can we get it? Yes! Kube in the end picks up the kill. They do attempt a TP from Edge, but they aren't going to complete that channel. Edge thinks better of it and backs off. Meanwhile, Core not going to get the finishing hits onto this turret as yet another mass recall comes through from Samsung. They have to head back to defend at the bottom as that wave moves towards the turret. Can't give up that farm onto this rise, so they need to keep rolling to have that late game damage.
Checking in with the Jungle Graves. Crush, just like Dardoch in Team Liquid Academy's earlier game, going for Rushed Ghostblade.
So true. Well, that's typically the Jungle Graves build that we've seen. You and I were talking about this a bit earlier, but Ghostblade into Sterax is typically what we see on Jungle Graves. He does get a lot of defensive stats from his quick draw, and combine that with a little bit more HP in the late game gives him some more chances to play in that front line more aggressively.
I mean, the rework Graves is more of a front line. That's just from pure virtue of being 400 range-ish when it comes to auto attacks. So between the refreshing extra armor and magic resist, and then items like Sterix or Morgmar Mortius to kind of just tussle in the front line, he's so much more tanky than you expect an AD carry to be, that he can be more of a bruiser rather than just the ranged AD carry that, say, a Kindred usually functions as.
Indeed, and so turrets traded in the top and bottom lane as Samsung still trails by about 1,500 gold, but they're actually denying more CS. They picked up more CS out of those waves and denied a wave on the bottom side, so they are starting to close just through more efficient farming.
I love how efficient, to use your word, Hippo's build is. He's only interested in move speed, gone straight into some more.
I love it.
He must be like way over the movement speed cap when it comes to losing efficiency of movement speed items, but when he shows up behind you, he is a very scary Anchorman.
He's not role-playing very well.
That's true. Bit wackier build, different type of Anchorman.
Very different. So, back into some quality farming with a minute left until Dragon. This team tries to control that side of the map and control that long lane in the bottom. See if Samsung wants to go for this or whether they'd rather try and push out the mid lane tower that they've nearly destroyed. Last chance recalls now here.
I think we need to revisit some of the terms we used before, like controlling an area with wards. We'll look at the mini-map and be like, oh, there's 4 wards in that area, but a lot of them are those visible blue wards, right?
Right.
That can just be instantly cleared out. They do provide permanent vision, but very easy and trivial to clear. I feel like the kind of acid test is pink wards. Where you can control pink wards seems to be so important in this patch. I think they're only the only purchasable wards. So pink ward zones, if you see 2 pink wards around an objective, that to me is true control over an objective in this new patch, preseason League of Legends.
True sight, true control.
Absolutely.
Just the truth. The pink wards see all.
It just feels like they're more and more important. It's why when it gets to the late game and no one can buy them, when you fill up item slots, it can get awkward when it comes to the vision game.
Okay, well, Samsung now moving through a choke point, managed to get into the river. There's going to be another dragon, however, secured. And that is number 3 already for e-mFire. They did take an early one here, and that means some pretty rapid scaling. 35 minutes, a possible number 5 for them. Kube opting out of that fight, even though he had teleport, more interested in just continuing his farming into the top side, and they want this mid lane turret now. Ambition wraps around the side. Some poke coming through, but e-mFire has enough wave clear in the mid lane to frustrate Samsung.
Frustrate is the right word. Samsung had a good start, but e-mFire really put together at least 15 minutes of really solid League of Legends. Hippo, I'd say sauntering, but no, he's just basically turbocharged on the Nautilus.
I love this build, it's too funny.
You know what I really want to see? I want to see him finish Banner of Command, just to put down a Banner of Command minion and watch Rise frustratedly try and push in a side lane.
That would be fantastic. Well, the Aegis is here, so we do have that opportunity.
Rocket's cheaper, but want to see Banner of Command.
The banner is much more amusing.
Also gives him some AP, which, you know, Nautilus scales with decently. The amusement factor is always what we're looking for in e-mFire versus Samsung, though.
Well, consider me amused already with movement speed Nautilus. I wanted them to click on him so I know how fast he's moving.
Really fast.
I
like,
can tell.
Super fast. I'm guessing like 450, 460. 300 base. Is it 65 from swiftness?
65 from swiftness and 15 from alacrity. Should be.
It's already 380, and then you go over the cap. I forget what it caps out at, but yeah, a lot. He'd buy more movement speed if he could fit it in.
Little dodge right there on the barrels as we head into lots of mid-wave clear. Well, no one wants to do anything, and all the waves push very slowly back and forth in the side lanes. This has been the tendency of this season so far. It is a young season. It is perhaps a RAM season.
I was going to ask, is this a reality of teams just getting used to the new patch, or a reality of the patch that we seem to start having these mid-lane standstills basically in every game we've seen, barring maybe one of SKT's more impressive victories?
Yeah, it does seem to be quite common, and it is accelerated by lane swaps. But the slow pushing, certainly a major factor, and minion wave control really dictating who is in mid at which time, and whether you can get just that slight amount of chip damage over time on your enemy's turret and take out that mid lane where you can actually start getting some jungle control.
Just feels like 5 people get in mid, then every 10 seconds someone pops a spooky ghosts.
Yep.
And no one pushes anything.
Yep, that's how it works. And strangely, I mean, the mid turret has taken so long to fall in pretty much every game.
Reminds me of back when I was casting LPL, and every game was Azir versus Seraph, and no turrets fell to 35 minutes. They just wave cleared all day.
That doesn't sound like the LPL I know about Smithy.
It's changed since then. For the better, for the worse.
I mean, in terms of results, certainly for the worse.
That's fair. Wave clear, wave clear. Nautilus is coming quickly, Monty. Like super quickly.
Yes, he is. Right back in the mid lane. In time for some more high-quality Trundle traffic cone zoning.
I feel like Trundle also stops things from happening better than most champions. The buzzkill that is the traffic cone, known to players worldwide now, on such a short cooldown because you max it first.
Then you go ahead and chain it together with a nice gravity field for absolutely no mid lane damage.
It's great for sieging and it's great against sieging. Hooray. All we need is Ziggs, Monte Cristo.
No, please, Papa Smithy. I can't deal with that again.
Fly gave an interview before playing any games and said, I think Lux is really good and I'm making Ziggs work. And he locked in the Lux straight away. So, Ziggs is coming soon.
I saw him in that interview. Said it. He likes Ziggs with Herald. So dirty. But actually might speed up games. So anything that speeds up this portion of every game that we have is welcome.
So we're looking to Ziggs to speed up the games. That's where it's at?
Yeah. That
2016 meta?
That is surprisingly. If Herald with Ziggs can speed up the game, well, I, for one, welcome Ziggs back to Champions.
Be careful what you wish for. Seriously.
Yeah, it's true.
Somewhere Easy Hoon's like, yes, yes.
You're somewhere in the depths of China. Easy Hoon waits for Dandy to gank his lane.
Some say he's still waiting for that.
Oh boy. I have to say, not overly impressed by the macro ability in the new season so far. Just seems like teams don't have very many options at this juncture.
But you know who must be really impressed? The e-mFire coach, because what could you realistically expect? And what you've been delivered for the first 30 minutes is levels above. You know, I was going to speak previous, because obviously you have experience coaching teams, and this is literally 5 new players, basically plucked from all sides of the world, of different roles and stuff. What would your expectations have been for your team, and wouldn't you think that they'd be pretty damn impressed that so far it's all been pretty controlled?
Yeah, it has been, actually. I think this is a promising start to e-mFire. Some poke damage there. They're just trying to poke right before the dragon spawns. Take Cougar down to half HP, not the target you'd like to see experience that poke, but they really need to take a drag to stop the 5 dragon stacks that e-mFire wants. They have the vision control. Barrel taken out right now, but e-mFire has control over the choke point. They're making a run. That's a not very good pillar right there, but they do dodge the barrels coming around the outside. Now a lot of wards into that dot brush, and e-mFire is on it. Now here we go, TP coming through. Finally some action. Rise not getting the best TP location. Doesn't get a flank right here. He's gonna have to run at them. You do not run at Rise barrels, or Rise barrels, GP barrels. And that's going to be the result. So Dragon will go ahead and be taken once again, but the fight's not done. Cougar trying to run is killed through his ultimate. Ambition can't get the dragon, and that means 4 dragons all ready for e-mFire here at 30 minutes.
e-mFire knew that eventually Cuvée would have to teleport, but it was such a defensive teleport. Didn't have stacks up, although.
Hippo now walking too far forward. Soul getting caught out in the Chaos Storm. There's the culling, and forces the flash out of e-mFire's Corki.
Had a more aggressive ward. You can see a pink ward to the bottom side could have been used. The overall result is to trade the 4th dragon for turret and a couple of kills. It's not ideal from a Samsung spot, but given what they had, Cuvée at half mana, didn't have stacks of his passive, didn't go for an aggressive teleport. It's more than they probably should have gotten from that exchange.
Yeah, you really can't TP like that into a GP. This is the worst possible situation.
874 damage.
You can't contest objectives with GP like that. You have to come in from the flank, and they're punished for it. Means there is a secure there. Ambition actually distracting the back line as e-mFire leaves their tanks out to dry.
Void Staff's now completed on Cuvée. Important to note that magic penetration is still total magic pen rather than the bonus armor penetration of Last Whisper, so still a lot of value in that pickup. Going towards a GA as well, so honestly, if he finishes Guardian Angel this early, then he's basically going for teleport into the back line.
And there you go, Papa.
Yay!
It's your Banner of Command onto top lane.
Rise versus Banner of Command is hilarious.
It's true.
He literally just auto-attacks, sadly. His like big wombo ultimate clears every minion, and then the Banner of Command's just still chilling.
Well, I love it too, because there's no real person to clear it out, considering that he's the only one with TP, and now Edge eats a culling core, moving forward, but no further damage able to be taken. They will instead just use some lenses to clear out the wards sitting in the mid lane and start to get some more vision. 4 minutes until this next dragon's going to spawn, and that will be, without a doubt, the next focus of this game. Now, Samsung has come back when it comes to global gold, but they still have compositional issues, and if Cuvée can't find that flank, they are going to have a lot of problems.
And if Cuvée can't curate top lane minions before he makes that teleport, they're going to have a lot of issues. If they can take a second out of turret in either top or bot and then have that natural wave pushing that with the minion wave changes and the Banner of Command minion, Cuvée is going to have a really hard time holding the minion wave and stopping it from just pushing in into the inhibitor turret.
Yeah, they had to send Core JJ top to take out the bannered minion. He's the only one who can do it on his team with any kind of efficiency. There's some more spooky ghosts. So many ghosts on the Rift these days. Maybe Summoner's Rift was built on an Indian graveyard. I don't know. The Poltergeist effect.
Core JJ, split push AD carry, full effect. And the items are certainly stacking up. We talked about the late game powerhouses. Cuve's had to kind of halt his build after 3 AP items to buy a bit of tankiness, but game playing. Infinity Edge, Trinity Force, and the Maw of Malmortius. Certainly a lot of damage coming through, potentially from GP.
Yeah, CoreJJ popping over the wall right there. Ambition sitting, they are not going to bait this Baron very effectively. You have to actually sweep the pit before that works. And Soul's, recall not quite going to be delayed. Samsung wants to really start threatening this Baron to force the issue, force the fight, but e-mFire not falling for it. A Banner of Command is going to cause them some more problems, right, about when this dragon spawns. We'll see how Hippo actually wants to use it.
Crazy that an item purchase in League of Legends can actually be so core to a strategy. You know, usually it's just more damage or more tankiness, but the Banner of Command really throws a wrench in the plans for Cuve. Doesn't matter if he has teleport up, meaning wave control won't be as easy as e-mFire is going to be able to put up, and as you mentioned, 5th Dragon soon.
Yeah, there you go. Soul actually going to get soloed by Crown. Great play, flash forward, getting the Thunderlords and just blowing Soul up, knowing that there wasn't a flash. They also get the GP ult out, so extra good for Samsung here. Edge has to move forward and flash out as he's starting to get targeted under the turret. CoreJJ will take a turret shot, but they're going to keep on moving. And that couldn't have come at a better time. Cuve, in the meantime, chasing Hippo all the way back, but you are not going to win that.
You've never seen a Hippo this fast.
I've never seen a Hippo or a Nautilus this fast, 'tis true.
Death timers are so long in this patch, you know, from minutes 15 to 40. Death timers are on average much, much longer. And still 10 seconds on Corki, and this Baron's being really shred down.
Yeah, Crush has to look for his steal right here, but Hippo comes back. He's going to TP in. Cuve pushed out with his ultimate. They're still looking to take this, but they don't have control over the back of the pit. And Crush going to pop on in, and that's going to be a secure for Ambition. A little close there, but they get it in the end, and now Core looking to finish up Cougar. Hippo will get knocked up and killed at the end. Double kill for Cuve. And that'll be a near ace. Soul, the last one standing, and this should be the end of the game.
And this is the thing that can happen. Even though the early game was so even, the power of a pick on patch 5.24 is immense. And from a single pick, all of this snowball has meant that after 30 minutes of controlling the game, e-mFire is going to lose their competitive debut.
Yeah, but definitely a stronger performance than we thought coming in from e-mFire. The package will be delivered, but at the same time, Soul will be delivered unto death. And now we have the conclusion of this game. 36 minutes in, Samsung with a decisive Baron and an even more decisive push takes out the Nexus, and that'll be 1-0 to Samsung.
Samsung honestly gave e-mFire much longer of a leash than we expected. e-mFire played smartly, they communicated well, both teleports and in terms of global abilities and the like, but in the end, the familiar mistakes that new teams can make, one single pick won Samsung the game.
Yeah, that was so close too, because that 5th Dragon was going to spawn soon. It looked like e-mFire was in control of that game. But considering the expectations we had of these guys coming in, they certainly exceeded them.
I mean, they looked much better than Spenu at the start of last season. In general, they looked coordinated. All their players were innovating new champions, playing aggressively. It was good to see.
Yeah, it was for sure. And Crown making the big hero play to come through at the end of the game, getting the 1v1 onto Soul and then chaining that directly into a Baron. Very nicely done. And that means we'll be heading into game 2 with an advantage to Samsung after a bit of a rocky start right there.
Plenty for e-mFire to take away, but in the end, experienced Samsung steal one.
Yeah, they certainly do. Well, a few